And as her voice becomes masculine, and her work is masculine, oh my gosh, you should see her face. The face of a woman is soft and gentle, beautiful. No man here will differ with me that the most beautiful thing that Allah has ever created is a woman. Come on, tell me. Huh? But now she loses her femininity. And as she becomes more and more masculine, because she is dressing like a man, eventually men are no longer attracted to her. And so now the day will get married to the day and get a marriage certificate. And the night will marry the night and get a marriage certificate. He said it 1400 years ago. Now when she goes to work, morning to evening, plenty traffic in KL, who's going to take care of the children? And that's the problem, eh? Because if you don't have any children, he's going to look for another woman. Yeah, if you don't have any children, you're going to look for another woman. So, who is going to take care of the children? Answer? Oh, put the children in a daycare center. So I went to the daycare center. I spoke to the baby, only 6 weeks old, eh? And a miracle occurred and the baby spoke to me. And I asked the baby, baby, do you prefer the daycare center or mommy? And the baby said, prefer mommy. Oh, I see. So mommy is violating your right as a baby. And mommy is neglecting you. Well, the consequences of an evil deed is an evil result. So when the baby grows up, guess what the baby does with mommy? They put mama in a junkyard of human beings. You know junkyard? When the motor car can't roll anymore, you put the motor car in a junkyard. Huh? So this is a nursing home for old people. So I went there and I saw her on a rocking chair. I said, Mama, can you hear me? Mama, what do you want? I said, do you prefer to be here or in the home with your grandchildren? I want to go back to the grandchildren. And this is punishment. You being punished. He said that woman would be dressed and yet be naked. When last have you been to KLCC? Huh? When women are dressed, before that, I missed out one. But they're going to be angry with me now, eh? These fellas on this side. But never mind, we'll be friends after the lecture is over. He said, men will dress like women. 1400 years ago he said that. Why would a man dress like woman? Why? Because he wants to assume the functional role of woman. You see? So when the two of them get married, the two men, one will be the dominant partner and the other would be the woman. If a man wants to dress as a woman, what is the first thing he has to do? I wish I had the time to wait for answers, but I don't have the time. Remember, don't be angry with me, I have a job to do. If a man wants to dress as a woman, the first thing he has to do is to shave off his beard. It is not by accident that every civilization in human history had the beard until the sun rose from the west. And modern secular Western civilization shaved off the beard, and guess what the rest of men in the world did? So if he wants to marry you, tell him, put on his beard first. Grow your beard first, otherwise no marriage. Now then, he said that woman would be dressed and yet be naked. This is dynamite. Yes, this is going to cause explosions. Why? Because the woman is attractive. You know, when Allah's messenger built the masjid, you know he put the men at the front. And you know he put the women at the back. You know that, of course. And you know he said that when women go down in sajda, they must remain in sajda longer than the men. You know that? No? Nobody ever told you? Yes. When women go down in sajda, in salat, they must remain in sajda longer than the men. This is a command of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. Why? He said some of the men may not have enough cloth to cover themselves. And if a woman were to raise her head too quickly, it would be an unwelcome sight. So he put the men at the front and the women at the back and told the women to remain longer in sajda. Why did he not put the women in the front and the men at the back? Answer: no man would be able to pray. No, you can't concentrate on prayer when you have women in front of you. Because women are beautiful. Women are desirable. And if there's a man who does not have desire for women, something is wrong with him. Give him a one-way ticket to the moon. So when women start to take off their clothing, you're heading for trouble. Yes. And he said women will be dressed and yet be naked. You're playing with fire. And he said the fire is going to come. Why? He said that eventually, I don't think it has come to Malaysia as yet, but it has already come to London and Paris and Japan and so on. He said you will find people having sexual relations in public like donkeys. Like donkeys. And this sexual revolution is provoked by a feminist revolution which takes woman and gets her to take off her clothing. I could go on for another 1 hour or more, giving you sign after sign of what he spoke about, the last age. But I think I want to now conclude by suggesting to you how can we survive in this modern age with faith intact. When you have studied the subject, then you can argue with me. Yes, but when you've not studied the subject, don't argue with me. Now, having studied the subject, and I am today, by Allah's kindness and grace, one of the people in the world of Islam who is teaching the subject of Islamic eschatology. Having studied the subject, I have come to the conclusion that you cannot escape shirk, you call it shirk, while living in society. And this is the one sin that Allah will not forgive. No. You cannot escape riba while living in the modern world. No. And Allah declares war in the Quran. And the Prophet ﷺ has cursed all four. And he has said that they are all equally guilty. The one who takes riba, the one who gives riba, the one who records the transaction, and the two witnesses. They're all equally guilty. And if you have the curse of the Prophet upon you, you're entering into the hellfire. I have come to the conclusion after studying the subject of riba. And incidentally, there's a flyer at the back for a conference taking place in KL, in PWTC on July 26th and 27th that you might want to attend. I am one of the speakers on riba, responding to riba. I have come to the conclusion that you cannot survive with faith intact while living as a part of this system. And therefore, I have been suggesting that we retreat to the remote countryside and we build micro communities which are free from oppression. So you're not going to employ an Indonesian maid. She is the last to sleep at night. She is my daughter. She is your daughter. She is my sister. She is your sister. She is the last to sleep at night. She is the first to wake in the morning. She works all day long. She gets no holidays. She is abused. She is exploited. In Singapore, she has to cook pork, lahmul khinzir. She has to do other things we can't talk about. And at the end of the month, she's paid the salary or the wage of a slave. Come on, Lee Kuan Yew. Is there any Singaporean woman who would work for $300 a month? Shame on you, Singapore. Shame on you, wherever in the world you pay a maid the wage of a slave. How do you know it's the wage of a slave? No Malaysian woman will work for that wage. No Malaysian laborer will work for that wage that you're paying the Bangladeshi and you're paying the Indonesian. So you are an oppressor and Allah will destroy you, Allah will destroy you, Allah will destroy you. So we will create our micro communities which will be free from oppression. Banks are not allowed. No. So no money lenders. And we're not going to use this paper money. The gold dinar and silver dirham is what you find in the Quran. So the gold dinar and silver dirham will be used as money. And if we have a shortage of dinars and dirhams, and we in Java, we can use rice as money. Yeah. In that micro community, we try to live the way of life of Islam. And if they come after us with the armed forces and the police in that remote community, then, said the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, and how prophetic were his words, and how few there are who listen to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam. He said, the time will come when a man, in order to preserve his faith, would have to flee to the mountainsides where rain falls and take with him some sheep and goats. And so I leave you now. I thank you for the time that you've given to me to introduce you to this important topic. I warn you that we now live in the most dangerous of all worlds. And most people are going to fail the tests. And I urge you to study the subject of signs of the last day and to examine my suggestion that survival requires us to try to live Islam And we cannot live Islam in their cities and towns. But we might succeed if we remove ourselves from the towns and cities and go back to kampung and build a community that is faithful to Allah and His Messenger. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين.